And since the new education policy has come up after more than 2 decades, there is a lot of expectations in the public and also among the teachers as to whether the new education policy would be able to transform the Indian universities into much better, well-run universities, and also to be more productive as far as the employment opportunities of the students are concerned. I think, as teachers, we all understand that we have 3 R's which were primarily being taught at the primary level, what was reading, writing, and mathematics, or what is it called, arithmetic. Now we have to start talking of 3 R's, which is reflection, which is also review, and also the third important R is known as something as reforms. I think reform is one area which has been given a lot of emphasis in the new education policy. And as far as teachers are concerned, we would also like to play our important role so as to see that the benefits of the new education policy are able to reach the masses, and also particularly the educated youth of our country who will be employable, would also be productive, would also be able to do service to their own motherland, that is India. With these few words, I welcome the dignitaries who have joined us. We know we have had a lot of difficulties in getting them. They are very busy, but nonetheless, we are happy that, sir, the 4 dignitaries have joined us as the speakers of the today. They are our guest of honors. With these few words, I welcome you, but the formal welcome address will be given by our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Srivastava, from NEHU. Sir, he is doing it. Sir, you welcome address.
Am I audible to all my guests, please? Hello?
Sir, he is audible.
Achha, all.
Yes, audible, sir.
Namaskar, a very good afternoon to all my distinguished guests and friends from NEHU. Today, on this great day of Teachers' Day, the occasion for which the society, the people, they place their gratitude towards the teachers. We are here with our guests from 4 different institutions, the eminent academicians. We have Professor T.G.Sitharaman, Director IIT Guwahati. We have Professor Sambasiva, Vice-Chancellor Mizoram University. We have Professor Saket Kushwaha, Vice-Chancellor Rajiv Gandhi University, Arunachal Pradesh, and also Professor K. Ramachandran, Professor from NIEPA and Eminent Educationist. They are all joining this program on a webinar on new education policy, Indian universities, and the case for socio-economic development of Northeastern region. And of course, I also have my distinguished colleagues from NEHU. We have Professor Nongbri, Madam, she is Dean School of Education. We have Dr. Nayak, our registrar. He's also, he has been an educationist teacher earlier. We have also Professor Henry Lamin, the Pro Vice Chancellor, and of course Dr. Biswajit Mohapatra. Very good afternoon and greetings to you all. Well, I look forward to hear my distinguished guests. So I will perform my very pleasant duty of welcoming my distinguished guests from other institutions, the eminent academicians, come administrators from different universities, and of course IIT, and also my colleagues from NEHU, and also those who have joined this program live through YouTube and other platforms. A very hearty welcome to you all this afternoon. I would only say that teachers are gurus in our Indian tradition. They hold a very high place in society. If we recall a shlok, which goes something like this, that Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurube Namah. That was the status in our ancient times. If we recall the great sages, the great gurus of the past, not only in the country but also in Europe or other parts of the globe, they were almost revered like any religious, preachers and things like that. But I think in the contemporary times, I think we all teachers, gurus must introspect. I think I'll better touch upon that aspect rather than other issues, that we all have to introspect, and we have to show our relevance to the society, to the people, in trying to trying to create a kind of the kind of students, the future leaders, the youngsters, to mold them in future leaders, and who will be delivering to the society and solving all the problems of today, all the socio-economic problems. You have this environment, you have agriculture, you have science and technology, you have the defense, security, and all. So we should take a special interest in our teaching, learning, research, outreach, and also connecting our students to other other social issues. So we have great responsibilities, not just finishing our lecture in the classroom situation or conducting research and publishing few papers and producing few degrees. So I think a lot of value addition we have to give to the students, their character building overall, and also teaching them about the world religion, the humanities, compassion, and things like that. So I think with this note, I would once again welcome all my distinguished guests, and then request Dr. Mohapatra to kindly continue the proceedings, and let's invite one by one our distinguished speakers and hear them their valuable kind of thoughts on this great occasion. Yeah, over to you, Dr. Mohapatra.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the welcome address. I think we have lined up a very good galaxy of speakers for the day, and to deliberate and discuss about the various aspects of education policy and the relevance to the Northeastern region. I think one of the first speakers that we have, the Dean School of Education of Northeastern University Shillong, Professor C. Nongbri. She is going to give her remarks on and very well just points about the significance of the teacher's role in view of the new education policy. I will request Professor Nongbri to kindly make her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mohapatra, for inviting me. At the outset, I want to wish warm greetings and happy Teachers' Day to each and everyone. Honorable Vice-Chancellor of Northeastern Hill University, Professor S.K. Srivastava, the chairman of today's program, honorable guests of honors, Professor K.R.S. Sambasiva, the Vice-Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi University, Mizoram, Professor Saket Kushwaha, the Vice-Chancellor of Rajiv Gandhi University, Professor T.G.Sitharaman, the Director, IIT Guwahati, Professor Ramachandran, the Eminent Educationist from NIEPA, respected Pro-Vice-Chancellor, Professor H. Lamin, Dr. J.N. Nayak, the Registrar of our university, Dr. Biswajit Mohapatra, the coordinator of the program, deans of schools and heads of department, officers of the university, eminent educationists and scholars present here and all over the country, students, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I consider it very blessed to have this privilege to be part of this program, and I thank university for involving me. I'm asked, and I would like to be very brief, as we have all the eminent speakers all over the Northeast and also at the national level, and I'm looking forward to their expert deliberation. Teachers' Day is celebrated every year on September 5th, the birth anniversary of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, the second President of India, a great teacher and statesman who believed that the role of teacher is of utmost importance to shape the nation. To celebrate Teachers' Day in 2020, the University Grants Commission and Ministry of Education is organizing webinars on different themes and initiatives on the recently adopted new education policy, or NEP 2020, and this is a response to that call. I have a very simple task this afternoon to introduce on the role of teachers and NEP 2020. Broadly speaking, the role of teachers is to help students learn by imparting knowledge to them and by setting up a situation in which students can and will learn effectively. However, the changed role of the teachers in the 21st century. Classroom teachers are facilitators of students' learning and creators of productive classroom environment in which they help students develop knowledge, skills, and values for their all-round development. The new Education Policy 2020, which emphasizes problem solving and critical thinking skills, will help the next generation of Indians finally prepare for life and navigate uncertain futures. Teachers are the most important members of our society. They give children purpose, set them for success as citizens of our world, instills in them a drive to do well and succeed in life. The children of today are the leaders of tomorrow, and teachers are the critical points that make a child ready for their future. For teachers across India, the reality brought on by the COVID-19 crisis has tested their ability to adapt and innovate. It is the challenge our teachers have overcome with dedication and sincerity to remotely teach students online. India has reached the threshold of the development of new technologies which are likely to revolutionize the classroom teaching. With NEP 2020, teachers will have an opportunity to nurture those values of adaptability and innovation in the classroom. A key focus of NEP is transforming the quality of teaching, where teachers will be empowered to lead change. Teachers have a major role to play in creating an environment that fosters a mindset of lifelong learning. They have the power and influence to spark curiosity, to help students develop the ability to explore and ask questions. This year, Teachers Day is more important as teachers have a very important role to realize the vision of the NEP for their students. Due to shortage of time, I will touch only 3 points from the NEP which is considered very important for implementation of the NEP 2020. Number 1, prioritize multidisciplinary thinking. With NEP envisioning all higher education institutes being multidisciplinary by 2040, this approach has to start in the school itself. Millions of students in our higher education system currently study to acquire education in a single stream like arts, science, or commerce. Training students for an interconnected world requires teaching them to see the big picture, connect the dots, and analyze problems from different perspectives through an integrated approach of teaching. As and when NEP is implemented, we will move closer to a world where students are to embrace multidisciplinary learning early on. Teacher can eventually lead them to more career opportunities. 2, embrace technology in the classroom. Teaching will have to change dramatically to increase participation in the classroom and promote inquiry-based, discussion-based methods envisaged by NEP 2020. Teachers who have adopted online through the COVID-19 crisis can elevate their impact by exploring aspects of a hybrid classroom to build engagement. With fifth classroom, for instance, course lectures could be pre-recorded and shared as a video with class time utilized for discussion on how to apply that knowledge. Teacher can also lean on technology to solve the problem of one-size-fits-all learning. With computer-aided instruction, teachers will be able to tailor instruction and assessment for every single student. They will be able to personalize assignment so students learn according to the strength or create learning paths unique to each student. By strategically using technology, teachers have the opportunity to grow their impact and effectively benefit every student. 3. Make Indian students lifelong learners. Indians graduating from college today will almost certainly move across multiple jobs and careers in their lifetime. As technology accelerates, the skills required for job are changing in a much faster pace. People will constantly need to be reskilled and update the skill to remain employability. Then what is the role of the teacher with the new NEP? Teachers can bring the shift by making learning more interactive, encouraging students to share knowledge and think for themselves through place-based education. Cooperative learning, interactive activities should be encouraged. As a child alias mentors, teachers are best placed to help students develop these critical skills in their formative years and will now have an opportunity with NEP to do so. At the higher education level, changes are evident in the emphasis on multidisciplinary and flexibility for the holistic development of learners in higher education institutions. From setting up of regulatory body for digital infrastructure development, that is the Higher Education Commission of India, to the creation of academic bank of credits, technology is at the core of the national policy. It gives greater autonomy to students to choose their learning pathway and develop skills sets which are likely to make them job creators, thereby giving rise to the entrepreneurial culture. The NEP endeavors to transform higher education institutions into centers of innovation and excellence by granting greater autonomy and turning higher education institutions into transparency and standard higher education landscape. The policy also aims to transform educators by enhancing the professional standards among teachers. In conclusion, we can say with confidence that teachers can empower lasting change for students that set them up for future success by embracing the spirit of NEP 2020 with a clear focus on equity, inclusiveness, and digital literacy. The reform under National Education Policy 2020 aims to transform India into a knowledge superpower. It brings the Indian education system at par with clever practices in the segment while creating a tech-driven generation who are ready to plunge into the future workforce. Thank you so much for your patience here.
Thank you, Professor Nongbri, madam. I also see Professor Ramachandran in the screen. So welcome, sir. So thanks, Professor Nongbri. Really, now you have, the different dots you have connected in the big picture, and of course highlighted the integrated approach, multidisciplinarity, and embracing technology, etc. Well, I can also add that that I was just that we all think firmly believe that this our National Education Policy 2020, which has come at the right moment and providing us a lot of challenge and all that, and we are all committed to implement at our respective institutions. And just for the information of suddenly, while sitting here listening to you, I was reminded of our in NEHU Act and Statutes, in the objects, the phrase like, I mean, what this university is for. So NEHU is for ... for socio-economic development of the hill people of this region. And our title today, Indian universities and the case for socio-economic development of Northeastern region. That's that's very it's very timely and very it's very suitable for today's theme when we remember our great gurus. And our policy is, of course, India-centric, Bharat-centric, and all. A lot of scope for us, the teachers and the researchers of Northeastern region, to do a lot. The Northeast offers enormous potential. Challenges in all fields of science and technology. Economics, and we talk about climate change and all those of issues. In languages and all that, which is also a very important pillar in that NEP. When we academicians from the Northeastern region may have to put in our best efforts to have these different they create teaching learning material in different languages, and also maybe digitize to excellence so that everybody has access to that. So thank you so much, Professor Nongbri. Now I think we will invite first. So Professor Ramachandran, I think as per my colleague Dr. Biswajit's program, I think you are the next speaker, please.
I can go last.
Last. No, you call in. You tell me. What is this? Who? Okay. So you will be at the end, sir. Yeah. So I think.
He mute himself.
Can I request our Honorable Director of IIT, Professor T.G.Sitharaman, to kindly make his presentation. So since you are in a hurry and you have a tight schedule today, I think it will be good for us if you can come up. Thank you, sir.
Professor Sitharaman ji, please, sir. Please.
Thank you. Namaste to everyone. Greetings to everyone on the Teachers' Day. On such a beautiful day, NEHU has selected a very important topic of the nation, that is the national education policy, and particularly the socio-economic development of Northeastern region. Distinguished guests on this webinar, Professor Sambasiva, Professor Saket Kushwaha, Professor K. Ramachandran, and particularly the host, Professor S.K. Srivastava, and Professor Nongbri, and Professor Nayak, and Professor Mohapatra, and all others who are listening to this webinar. Greetings from Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Guwahati. What really this National Education Policy 2020, which was approved by the Union Cabinet of India on 29th of July 2020, just completed a month's time. But it has created such a euphoria among all sections of people. So not only the media, not only the educationalists, even everybody is really a lot of hope for this. So this hope puts us in a lot of great responsible positions, because that if you have read the education policy, it's very broad. It's very broad, and some places I don't mind saying it is very general. And it puts us a lot of responsibility for the implementation. So the new policy really replaces the previous national policy on education, which was brought in 1986. That means after a long time, we are actually bringing out a real policy, even though there were many committees in between. The policy aims to transform India's education system itself by 2040, which is a very great dream. The vision if you look at the policy's vision, is envisions an India-centric education system that contributes directly to transforming our nation's sustainability into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. All of you know, because you are a very senior administrators of universities, know that we are actually suffering from quality. We have achieved some numbers in the higher education, but we are really suffering from quality. What is important today from the national education policy is the government has clearly said that the expenditure, both the state and the central government expenditure, is going to go around 4% to 6% of the GDP, which is a big thing. Let me tell you, that's one thing which you can think about. At least, we could do something with this. When the funding is not available, it's very, very difficult, because all of you are running universities, The NEP 2020 enacts numerous changes in India's education policy. Shortly after the release of the policy, the government also clarified that no one will be forced to study any particular language, that the medium of instruction will not be shifted from English to any regional language. So you see, you're already seeing the true difficulties in implementation, because India is such a complex and diversified country. So and also every state has its own language, which is historical in nature, and they love their languages. So the language policy in NEP is a broad guideline, and how do we implement it and how do we make use of it is a great challenge. So it's all responsibility of the heads of the institutions, directors and vice chancellors, really to see how to implement some of these. So NEP implementation, already ministry has requested the states and union territory to disseminate the call for suggestions for how to implement it. So that also puts you into, that means you have to get a lot of input from all section of people. So one thing I am very hopeful of it, this puts a multidisciplinary approach. The entire policy addresses towards the multidisciplinary approach, I think, which is need of the hour, because the entire thing, innovations cannot happen if you work in silos. Just having a department in the institute is not good enough. The faculty should work together, with a multidisciplinary, and come with and a focus on finally the help to society. That's when society get benefited, socio-economic development can happen. So in a system, right now the present system in India is a severely fragmented higher educational ecosystem. I'm going to only talk about higher education, and less emphasis on the development of cognitive skills and learning outcomes, and a rigid separation of disciplines, as I told you earlier, very, very rigid. Even in civil engineering, people don't want to interact with water resources and structural engineering. They say my domain, my area. But the problems are in nature, doesn't differentiate like that. So we need to start work together. So this is where I would like to call upon, because very important universities are here. We should look at, instead of doing ourselves fantastically well and we need to achieve excellence. So in this pursuit of excellence, we should not forget all the institutions which has the expertise around us. So we have to work together in a collective efforts and make it what is called as network of excellence in the Northeast. So I actually call all the vice chancellors, please, let us work together. You have some strength, maybe in social sciences, or maybe in humanities, maybe in languages. So we have the technology strength. So we have to work together and look at, a combination wherein the world can look at us as, instead of I start generating a different humanities department or a language department, I can rely on Nehu, I can rely on Rajiv Gandhi University. So our faculty should start working together. So we have to make them to talk to each other. work together and create a center of sort of a network of excellence, and that would take us a long way. So we have actually a country of very varied nature, very big country with 6 lakh villages, limited access, particularly in a socio-economically disadvantaged areas, with few higher educations in some remote corners that teach. Also, some of them have to be taught in local languages. Limited teacher and institutional autonomy is there. Without autonomy and financial powers, I don't think we can achieve much. Inadequate mechanisms for merit-based career management, because we do have a lot of reservations and all that is we have to take carry together. Please understand, we have to economically weaker section, reservation, we need to carry all of them together. That puts us into a lot of challenge. And then lesser emphasis on research. I would like to focus here a little bit. So we need to introduce more and more research attitude in our students. So they have to ask questions. So today research is not only in science and technology. Research has to be in humanities and all other areas, languages even. So we have to give more emphasis on research, and particularly what we are talking about, the most universities and colleges. And we also have to look at reviewed research funding across disciplines. This is where I see a great hope through the national education policy, because National Research Foundation, what it is created, instead of allocating budget on a university system or on a university or a center or a department, so it is going to give budget on the problem what we are addressing. Collectively. So it could be 10 universities collectively addressing a specific problem which has a direct outcome to the society and which changes the socio-economic scenario of that region. That's the strength of this national education policy. In effective regulatory system, we need to put it so that we can implement this. Large affiliating universities resulting in low standards of undergraduate education, we need to transform them into a collective wisdom through the networking and make it very, very active. So if I am strong in technology, I should be more focusing on technology, but derive strengths on like other areas from other neighboring institutes. So work together. So with these few words, I take the opportunity given to me from the NEHU Vice-Chancellor, and also I thank all the distinguished panelists and the guests of honor who are on this panel to also say some few words. So I don't like to take much more than what I've said today. So I look forward to work with you in the Northeast to make a center of basically a network of excellence of all the universities together, and going for funding to maybe National Research Foundation or any council, so that we can do something together for changing the socio-economic scenario of the entire Northeast region. With these few words, thank you very much. Thank you. Good day to all of you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Sitharamji, and for our guests and, those who are participating, in this our Teachers' Day webinar. I think you will be happy to know that we are very fortunate to have our IIT Guwahati in our Northeast region as one of the sister institutions, who are excelling, excelling in ranks of their QS, and also they have excelled in all kinds of, teaching, learning, research, entrepreneurship, innovation, incubation, and whatnot, So I think let me also congratulate Professor Sitharamji and the entire IITG fraternity for this, take off, and thank you so much. And I really, enjoyed you emphasizing, especially the research attitude. That's very important. Because it is the research that generates knowledge, creates knowledge. And this knowledge has to be fed into the teaching learning process. It's not that we should segregate knowledge and the teaching and research into compartments. Let's have a semi-permeable membrane where knowledge and research and teaching, they flow into each other. And of course, the best part, of course, which all will agree, that you emphasize for the collective efforts, the networking, and in a lighter vein, if I may say, if I may be allowed to say, and my colleagues don't mind, I think we talk about national integration. We citizens have to connect from different regions, different, religion, different communities and caste and all. So emotional integration. So why not have a national integration, through education, through teaching, learning, through research, and so on and so forth. So thank you so much, sir. For emphasizing, this great theme of collective efforts, and we all have potential. We look forward to working with each other. So now I request, as informed by my colleague Dr. Mohapatra, that next Professor Saket Kushwaha, I am privileged to request you, sir, to kindly share your thoughts on this great theme for today. Yeah, Professor Saket Kushwaha.
नमस्ते, गुड आफ्टरनून। मुझे सुन सकते हैं आप? ऑल ऑफ यू ऑडिबल? आई एम वेरी ऑडिबल, आई बिलीव।
बिल्कुल बुलंद आवाज आपकी आ रही है। वेलकम सर। हाँ, चलिए।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच। First let me start by greeting my sincere greetings to my senior colleague, my brother, Professor Srivastava ji, the Honorable Vice-Chancellor of NIEPA, very learned colleague, Professor A.R.S. Sambasiva Rajiv, Honorable Vice-Chancellor of Mizoram University. Together with us, I have just heard Dr. Sitharaman ji, Honorable Director of IT Guwahati. We have together with us, I think, the veteran in this program, Professor Ramachandran ji. We are also having the very respected speaker, Professor C. Nongbri ji, the Dean of School of Education, NorthEast, Eastern Hill University, Meghalaya. We are also going to have some time with Vijay Narayan Nayak ji, the registrar, and for that matter, he is from my field, and he is a colleague and friend indeed. We have Dr. Biswajit, the mover and shaker of this program, and all learned participants in this program. First of all, today let me extend my greetings to you, all teachers, with folded hand, that this is very auspicious occasion for all of us to observe this day. And let me tell you that it is a different story altogether, that we have gotten a notice, circular kind of thing from UGC to observe this day. But then this day we are observing it from childhood. But maybe dimension is different today, because on 7th, Honorable President of India, together with Prime Minister of this country and Minister of Education, Dr. Nishank Pokhrial, they are going to address the nation about this new education policy, or National Education Policy 2020, on 7th, from 10 onward. I think all of us are going to participate. Well, what is different? First of all, the basic thing which I feel that we have to understand, that after these 34 years, we have this policy. What is different in that? I think first and foremost, the Meghalaya aura is going to go away. That aura, though I will not debate in that thing much, because everyone who is of, all the Vice-Chancellor here, and I will tell you, and you will be surprised, that day before yesterday, around 15 minutes after 9, I got a call from Honorable Governor of Arunachal Pradesh, Brigadier Dr. B.D. Mishra ji, and Honorable Governor spoke to me about 1.5 hours, roughly, and he was discussing I mean, I feel honored that at that hour, Honorable Governor is worried that how this policy is going to take place in Arunachal. And there he told me few things, 3 words I will tell you. And that carries a lot of meaning. During discussion, Honorable Governor told me that there must be Chintan. When you look into the dimension of this Chintan, that means what is the vision of this National Education Policy 2020? I think the problem which we had faced these days, it could be because of low budget allocation for the education system, or maybe lower number of creation of higher institution of learnings, even lower number of secondary schools in the country. There could be thousands of problems. But then I believe that some of the problem is inside here, and some of the problem is inside here. Why I said so? Because no matter how good policy we have, the excellent policy we have, it will not yield any result unless you feel it, you own it, and you are ready to deliver it. And when I said you feel it, that means everyone, all the stakeholders, directly or remotely. Like if we tell that all the teachers, non-teaching staff, students, they are the only stakeholder, then we are mistaken. Each and every individual of this country, or each and every individual on this globe, is a stakeholder. We are just celebrating today Teachers' Day, and then we are also sharing some WhatsApp messages. There we are mentioning that no matter from which profession you are, it is teachers, it is the job of the teacher to make you perfect in that aspect. So you feel it, and you feel the responsibility also. Nowadays you are seeing that lot of issues are being taken up by students. Name a country in this globe, even it is US, Australia, or anywhere else, where that much noise is being made from one particular stakeholder. That means somehow either we have given lot of platforms in the name of democracy, in name of freedom, to hinder our day-to-day activities. On one hand, I still support the idea of having different kind of forum. But on the other hand, there must be a mechanism through which we should be allowed to work smoothly. So during this Chintan word, otherwise you can call it vision, I think those 2 crore number we are calling, these 2 crore students somehow are not being given chance to pursue their education. Maybe we miss them. I remember that during one of the meeting in NIEPA, one of the speaker resource person who was from United States of America, he spoke to us that if after O level, ordinary level, that means after 10th class, if they lose the track of 2 students, they will still reach to their house. So I smiled on that day. I said, in our place, even if we try to reach to the house of those students, how we are going to give them admission? Though I know GER we are talking about, it is between age of 24, 25 up to 20, from age of 18 to 25. But nowadays we are talking about don't tie this GER with the with the age group. Even gross enrollment ratio at primary level could be seen. Whenever our 10th class students are writing exam, do we think all passes are giving admission somewhere? No. At that moment, we lose 40% student. We don't have even vacancy. There are no much enough student to give chance to pursue the education for those who have all passes in 10th class. So 40% we lose there. Take the national data and look into it, analyze it. Then let us move further. All the passes, those students who secure passes at 12th class, then do we think we have enough number of students to give them chance in graduation level? Likewise, even in PG level, in PhD level? No. The problem problem lies within the system. We have to look into it. Then contrary to it, some of the people will be telling that first those institutions you have on ground, make them strong, perfect. Till to date, I could not understand what do you mean by perfect and strong. Tell me the name of the institution on this whole globe which you can brand perfect. You see, perfect and imperfect situations are not very important. I do minimum requirement must be fulfilled. For this, we have different kind of supervisory bodies. So those 2 crore students, how we are going to give them chance? And then what will be the modalities, even 6% which we intends to allocate? What will be the ratio of creating the asset? And what will be the ratio of for recurring expenditure? All these modalities we have to work. And I think our country is bent to do that one. That is the good part of it. Then we have to enrich. You see, the thing is that even if you have institutions, we have lost focus somehow to enrich, though we have a lot of programs, but somehow the built-in mechanism to enrich the system. When I say enrich your system by good syllabus and curriculum. We are putting efforts. Enrich your system by recruiting good people. We are doing. Enrich the mechanism of laboratory. We are doing. I think when we talk about research and other thing, interdisciplinary aspect, even those big country, those developed country, they have failed awfully even to develop the vaccine. That means everything is based on time factor. No matter how developed they were and how underdeveloped we were, till to date we are at the same platform. But I do agree that because of this sentence, we cannot lose hope. We should develop our system. We still we have identified the little problem somewhere. We have to continue with those problem area, gray area. Then we have to strengthen them. We have to modify them. We have to perfect them. Then Chetan, we should have action. And whenever we said we should have action, that means physical infrastructural development. This is what I have just told you. Talent pool of attraction. How we should attract good people. What should be the mechanism? Like today we are doing this celebration through, Teachers' Day we are celebrating through this platform. Do you think teaching could be done like this also? Today I might not have the enough number of faculty members. The landed faculty numbers are not enough. Maybe I don't have sanction strength. Do you think from NEHU I can get help? Do you think from Banaras Hindu University can I get help? And in the return, what I have to do? So these kind of mechanism has to be developed. Then how to do it? There is Chinta. Chintan, Chetan, and then Chinta. Challenges are there. So what are those challenges of this achieving these goals? I believe that any policy, at least we should give 2 years to work upon the nitty-gritty of the whole thing. We must give chance to those people to bring the policy on ground. So we have to look into this matter, that if lack of we lack the provision of enlightenment. You see, like in Arunachal Pradesh, almost 14 lakh population we have, but somehow we are unable to convince people that sending their kids to school is the best way forward for development. So that kind of challenge we have in the society. You believe that even in a rural area of the mainland, we so to call mainland, we are unable to convince people. That is why those kind of midday meal policies were there. That even if we fail to convince the parents of those area, we expect to tell them that if you are going to send your child to the school, there is a meal for him or her. And when child will come to the school for meal only, he will be seeing he or she will be interacting with the other children, and maybe he will be seeing the role of the teacher or role of the visitor in the school, and he will be convinced, he or she will be convinced to pursue the education. So there's a need for us to really reach to those people whom 60% population whom we are missing in the race. Now, I believe that this is the right time for me to appreciate the energy of Nehru. It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the energy of Rajiv Gandhi University or Mizoram University. You see, every university has its own beauty. The whole, Dr. Nayak is there. He's from economics. We used to tell very popularly that every policy is subjected to the market. Likewise, every policy has that mechanism to cover all the aspects of life. And when I said all aspects of life, that means socio-economic coverage is the main factor. And by all the policies, no matter what kind of policy you make, whether it was midday meal or even Narega Manrega policies. So every policy has built-in aspect of addressing the market, and they also have the built-in mechanism to address the issue of socio-economic development. And I believe that whether you agree or not, we don't want to produce the machine man. We wish to produce the human being in the system. So these policies, we should give them chance to come on the floor, and we are promising that in the team of Rajiv Gandhi University, or with the team of Nehru University, and or with the team of Mizoram University, or we have 1,000 universities in India, we are going to take it up so that the dream of this nation could be fulfilled in totality. I know it will take time, but with the energy of each and everyone associated on this platform or remotely associated, I believe we are going to make impact. Thank you very much for giving me chance. I will say Jai Arunachal, Jai Bharat. Thank you. हेलो
बहुत अच्छा लगा. एंड आपने जो बात डिफरेंस की शुरू में की, लाइक डिफरेंस जो पहले मेघालय इरा था एंड नाउ वी आर इन इट ऑल टुगेदर डिफरेंट वर्ल्ड. और सबसे बड़ा जो एक परिवर्तन है, मतलब इसी दिशा में नामकरण. देखिए, नामकरण का बहुत प्रभाव पड़ता है. व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से, सॉरी समटाइम्स आई गो इनटू हिंदी बट डजंट मैटर. आई थिंक आई कैन डेफिनेटली टेक द अथॉरिटी एंड द लिबर्टी ऑफ आल्सो समटाइम articulating in our mother tongue some of ours, and also one of the our national language Hindi में भी. तो शिक्षा मंत्रालय जो नाम है, अब पहले वो it used to be मानव संसाधन विकास मंत्रालय. Now our we have Ministry of Education, the erstwhile Ministry of Human Resource and Development. ये बहुत बड़ी चीज है. इनफैक्ट ये that itself shows कि हम लोग कितनी नई चीजें सोच रहे हैं. And for the participants and all my distinguished guests, I am reminded of a few lines, which very much fits into this our present theme and the great day, which is we are commemorating today for a new India, for a transforming India, for Atmanirbhar Bharat. एक बहुत अच्छा गीत है जो आप लोगों को संभवतः याद हो जाए, स्मरण हो जाए कि छोड़ो कल की बातें, छोड़ो कल की बातें, कल की बात पुरानी। अब ये मेघालय के लिए बात कर रहा हूँ, और जो कुछ दशक पहले, few decades ago, we had a particular system, and we are always evolving, and refining our system, our policy, education policy. So छोड़ो कल की बातें, कल की बात पुरानी, नए दौर में लिखेंगे मिलकर नई कहानी, हम हिंदुस्तानी, हम हिंदुस्तानी. So we all, the members belonging to the academic fraternity, which is a subset of our great country. I think we all have our commitment, and we are duty bound to kind of write altogether a new kind of story in field of higher education. And Professor Kushwaha ji, like you very nicely analyze the GER and the challenges which it offers, from enhancing the GER, and also from class 10th to 12th to graduation and so on. That's definitely a big challenge. And of course, we have multiple exit, multiple entry points. I hope all these academic credits and all will take care of such things. And lastly, you really highlighted about the enriching the every subsystem of the entire the education ecosystem in our country. So thank you so much once again. And now I have the pleasure and privilege of inviting Professor K. Ramachandran ji from NIEPA. And sir, I had I'm sorry, sir. Professor Sambasiva ji, the Vice-Chancellor of Mizoram University, my very good esteemed friend, and a well-wisher of NEHU. And so, Professor Simbaraji, over to you, sir. The floor is now yours, and we look forward to hearing you. Yeah.
Namaskar, sir.
Ji.
So, Ramachandran sir is there. No, better we listen to him now.
Absolutely, okay. So it's okay. So I think Professor Ramachandran ji, like of course, we are grateful to you.
If you want me, no problem. I will finish within 10 minutes.
चलिए कर लीजिए. Thank you so much. चलिए, because
thank you, sir.
चलिए, Professor Sambasiva. Yeah.
First of all, I thank NEHU, Honorable Vice Chancellor Srivastava ji, for giving me an opportunity to interact on this floor. It was a real opportunity for me to share some of my feelings on this occasion. Particularly, everyone has got so many things about national education policy and how it is going to be, implemented, how it is going to be taken up, and these are the main issues. And everybody is welcoming the implementation of NIEPA, but everyone is also having so many points how it is going to be taken up. But it is to be understood by everyone that the national education policy main objective is to provide high quality education in India. The children who have been studying in India, they should be provided best available education, individual, society, and country and world, and they should also feel that the education policy which being implemented by our country is training our children up to the level of global level. That they should be trained in such a manner that they are competent enough, well trained globally. And India is going to be the leader, particularly in providing highest number of youth trained in education, skill-based education, and also well-qualified young people in the coming decade. And the country emphasizing mainly on this particular aspect that the youth who are coming up now, they should have a proper base, and also they should be also trained very well at various levels from the school level itself and up to higher education level. They should be trained in such a manner that they should be technically very sound, and they are well versed with the modern technologies which are being developed, and they are well versed with the techniques which are being recently coming up. And this is very important that the students who are actually trained in different subjects, they may not be well versed with the different subjects which are actually been very much required, particularly in the digital world. And The need for technology orientation at various levels, even though they are studying mathematics or biology or social sciences or humanities, the digital technology must be the part of the education system in our country. And I'm talking in a general manner, but I'm not talking about the NEP as it is, but I'm talking in a general manner at how the objective of the particular system is going to be taken up and how it is going to be useful and when it is going to be implementation part. And the skill level requirement is very, very high in our country because the employment opportunities are not that much sufficient and they have to be globally competent enough to get job opportunities elsewhere, if not in our country, because a lot of population is going up. And this policy, the NEP, should also be emphasizing on the entrepreneurship qualities of these children. And the children should not be only job seeker. They should also come up in their life and they should develop entrepreneurship and they should establish the industries and also they should provide more number of employment opportunities for the children. And this is very important that the big change which has been proposed by the national education policy that the fundamental literacy and numeracy should be very strong enough and the children, if they are being provided with education at the high school level, primary level and high school level in their own language, that will be more strong enough and also more confident enough to learn the way subject up to the maximum level extent possible. And this is also been emphasized on the liberal arts mode of education system that the children should be provided training in all the subjects and they should be provided the opportunity for learning all the subjects. And after they progress into the from primary level to middle level and also to the higher education, they should choose their own topic of their interest. And also they should be skill-based training has to be implemented from the class 6 to 8 and then it will be continued further also. And emphasis on conceptual understanding is very important, creativity and critical thinking is very important. This is actually, you have to understand that our children are well trained in theoretical base and when they go outside world, outside many countries, they are very much successful once they enter into job in the various countries. In India, the education system which is now available is more theoretical based and not much practical component is being involved. This is also very much well emphasized in the NEP that the student should be provided an opportunity with creative thinking, innovative thinking, and to become a self-entrepreneur and to establish more industries on his own. This is what actually will emphasize it very much. And how it is going to come up and how it is going to be implemented. More skill-based education and also more project practical oriented training during the primary level and secondary level and higher education level. This kind of education has to be implemented. And the power of language is very important that they should be provided education in their own language or in the native language. Then it will be more advantage for children to understand the basic level and to know the subject up to the maximum level possible. And the teachers and faculty at higher education level are heart of the particular education system and NEP. And there are many shortfalls in availability of trained teachers. The training of the teachers is also very, very important. And it has been emphasized in the NEP that the teachers' education training needs to be very much improved, and the pedagogy and course structure has to be prepared in such a way that the educators should be properly trained. And in India, the importance of education also take example from the various other countries also. In Finland, people say that actually the teachers are highly respected there, and we are not really having that kind of emphasis on the teaching professionals in India. Why it is coming up? It is also been emphasized very much here that the teachers has to be provided proper incentives and career improvement opportunities, and also the teachers who are already existing, they should be provided with some kind of more skillful training during the career. This is also very much emphasized. And the 4-year degree course and the the possibility of a discontinuation of the 4-year course by several people because of various reasons also very much prevalent now. So that's why entry of that is completion of first year, they will be given certificate course and they will be given diploma course in second year and degree in third year and fourth year with research based degree. And it's also very much emphasized that the 4 years research degree can also directly go for PhD program. And this shows the emphasis on research, how it is going to be taken up. And this particular system will be more advantage for the children that they are being trained from the beginning in high school system, and also when they are progressing from primary education to higher education, more emphasis on skill-based training, more emphasis on research. And this shows that the research has got a very good importance, and it shows also clearly evidence that the creativity and innovation will be more important points that they should be given preference. And how it is going to be implementation. Uh, Implementation is all of a sudden, can we implement everything from all the levels, or from the base level it has to be implemented, or and it is to be implemented at all the stages at a time. So these are the various questions actually are prevailing in the minds of the people. Everybody is inviting the NEP, and it is a very good change after 34 years. India is venturing to have a national education policy of its own, and we are copying earlier from various other sources, but now we have got our own policy and our own system, our own objectives, and what are our objectives also been very clearly, it's a visionary document and it is very clearly spread out. But how it is going to be implemented, it is a thousand percent point is actually prevailing in everybody's mind. Whether it is going to be implemented from the school level now, or whether it is going to be implemented at all levels at a time, these are the various questions which has got big big questions which have been prevailing in everybody feeling. And definitely not all at a time, but some of the cases like that is the total system has to be achieved. You know, even the NEP policy also says that over the period of 15 years, this system is going to be implemented very successfully. Similarly, if it is going to be implemented at the school level from the next year onwards, 2021 onwards, so as the student progresses to the higher studies, it will be slowly implemented at all the stages. It will be also one possibility people are thinking about that. And people are that is gossiping among them. It will be good. And even several meetings also it has been discussed. When Ramachandran sir is there, he can also be emphasizing on this particular point, because everybody has got some doubt now when it is going to be implemented, and how it is going to be implemented, at what level it is going to be implemented, whether it is going to be at school level or that, and also simultaneously at college level and or at the higher education level also it is going to be implemented. So my personal suggestion is that if it is implemented at school level, definitely it will be more advantage that on the students who are actually being admitted in the next batch under this particular visionary document of NEP, the people can be carried with the same perception and also same objectives. The students can progress to the higher classes. This will be one of the alternative. And the other, meanwhile, the various objectives of multidisciplinary institutes, clustering institutes, and also making autonomous colleges, and also reducing the number of things. Immediately, it is not been very feasible. Why? Because there are many institutions, at least 60% to 70% of the institutions are not being eligible to be autonomous institutes in our country. 60 to 70% of the institutes are not being eligible because of the quality of teachers, quality of teaching, and quality of the various infrastructure which is available. All the colleges and buildings are not being infrastructure-wise, they are not really been up to the satisfactory level. So what is that actually? It will be good appropriately. This is my personal perception only. If it is implemented from the school level, by the time they progresses to the higher education level, the infrastructure can be strengthened, the teachers' quality can be strengthened, and also the training of the particular, the teachers also training, career improvement of the teachers also can be planned in such a way. And by the time it progresses to a period of 5 to 10 years, the quality which is expected in NEP 2020 may be very much possible. This is what one of the perceptions, and also the institutions also mentally will be prepared. And many autonomous, many colleges which are actually now degree offering institutes and affiliating institutes, which are going to become autonomous institutes, and autonomous institutions are going to be planned among the colleges which have been there, and whether they are really been able to provide the examination system and also conduct of examination, curriculum development, curriculum improvement, curriculum that is implementation, everything, they are all not been prepared immediately. So these are actually, particularly states like Northeast region, they are not really been trained in that. Out of 35 institutions or 36 institutions in Northeast, particularly Mizoram state, maybe 5 or 6 institutes are ready to take up the immediate changes here. And the other 30 institutes, they are not having student number also not that much sufficient, teachers also not being that much sufficient. So all of a sudden implementation at a higher education level may that is may rise certain of the difficulties in implementation. But we are not against for this. But what I am trying to just mention here, emphasize here, if it is slowly implemented from the school level to higher education level, it may be very good. This is what my emphasis. And the digital infrastructure is very, very important. Particularly, for example, in the middle of my joining into the meeting today, in this seminar, 3 times I got disconnected, and and sometimes it says that your internet is not that much strong, and your camera is not working, your microphone is not working. So the digital strength, digital infrastructure has to be strengthened, particularly in the areas where accessibility is one of the biggest problems. This has to be strengthened. So by the time the new education, the national education policy which is implemented at school level, by the time they progress slowly, year after the year, keeping this in view, the digital infrastructure can be improved when they come to the higher level. This is one of the, that is the reason why I have been mentioning, emphasizing that this should be implemented in state-by-state manner. And implementation strategy is very important, that at what level, at what form of goods, and also there should not be given diversification implementation. So all the states, if they are given independence, autonomy, the implementation also may not be appropriate, because the student migration from one state to other state or higher education system is very much possible. Now it is happening. So if it is implemented in one state and if it is not implemented in another state, the students will face a lot of difficulties. So the implementation should be uniform in all the states, and the education system which is progressing also, it should be uniform in other states. It has to be thoroughly discussed by the government that it is to be implemented uniformly in all the states. Otherwise, there are some practical utilities, practical difficulties may arise, and it is also that the gross enrollment ratio uh, is planned to improve up to 50%, but it is very important that the gross enrollment ratio to be implemented, because of the socio-economic conditions of the people living in different states, who are living mostly 50 to 60% of the people are below, almost poverty line or below poverty line they are living. So the education system definitely should implement compulsory education by providing free education up to 8th class or 10th class. Free education has to be provided, and the local governments, particularly local council, village councils or district councils, has to take up this particular issue. That all the children of the particular state, irrespective of very financially viable state or not viable state, the education has to be implemented in such a way that it is free education, free meal to be provided, free transport to be provided. then only 100% enrollment possibility will be there. Wherever the 100% enrollment, gross enrollment is going to be implemented, that is going to be definitely a progress of the country, progress of the state, and progress of the total education system, total potential of the country will be definitely dependent on that. So the GR has to be implemented just not by the various strategies. It is also the keeping the view that the socio-economic conditions for the people, it is also to be provided some kind of free education at different levels wherever it is possible. And the liberal arts model is also very good, and it is also been emphasized in the NEP. And the students has to be provided in such a way that their innovation has to be created. So from the high school level itself, the students has to be encouraged. The training of the children, the school level children, also in advanced institutes, there are more than 100 institutes under CSR, ICR, ICMR, DBT, so many institutes are there, national institutes. I just tell you, in one of the institutes, a few years back, when we were asking for the project training, I don't want to name the institute, they were telling, we are wasting our time by giving training to the students project work, project training. This is the answer I got from one of the institute scientists. But our people goes to many countries and getting training, but our own institutes in the country not been providing training to the children of our own country. And they feel that once they will go to abroad and they will get training and they will be getting employment, and they will be saying that giving training to our children is wastage of time. This is the concept in many scientists' mentality actually being prevailing. And as long as this is going to be continued, and if it is not going to be considered that our children has to be trained at various levels, the job of the scientists also to train our children. This is actually been forgetting in many national institutes, any CSR institutes or ICR institutes or ICMR institute. The scientific temper has to be developed. That scientific temper only develops when the children are being provided training, practical oriented training. That is not being provided in our many of the institutes. For the namesake, there are few people they are providing, few are maybe 100 or 150 to 100. But a population of 130 crores of population in India, how it is going to be catering sufficient for the training of the children? Every institute has to provide invariably the training to the children. This is also very important that government has to realize the importance of the children training at base level. Then only the creativity will improve. Then only innovative thinking will be improved. Then only the students can become that knowledge-based people in the country, and they can contribute to the development. And liberal arts model also will be very successful. And the discontinuation of the children and rejoining of the children in various courses, what is the kind of system we have to provide? For example, existing system says that the student who crosses beyond 5 years or 6 years is not going to be eligible to continue his degree or PG course. So this discontinuation and rejoining can be also defined in such a way that the students even discontinues now and wants to join back to his education after 5 years, he has to be permitted. This kind of regulation framework has to be developed for discontinuation. Some guidelines may be provided, otherwise it will be not having that much importance in the system. For example, I tell you one example. In one of the instances in last few years, I got an opportunity that one student who was failed in one paper 15 years back in university, and he was dropped out only with one paper. And the university, because of the limitations of 5 years permission, they have not permitted him for completing that one paper, and he was left out without any graduate degree. So after that case came to my notice, I permitted all the students who are left out with one paper, even after 10 years, 15 years, I have given one-time chance to everyone. And also, second time also, I preferred that to be given to them, because one paper, if they are going to complete the degree, it is actually for the benefit of societal development. This kind of thinking is not been there in that particular regulation, if they are going by rule based, the children, the discontinuation policy or rejoining policy will not be having that much. Actually, this is that is a certificate diploma course, and this kind of things has to be taught. I'm talking about implementation policy, and I'm not talking about NEP. NEP document is very good, but how we are going to implement this, I'm talking, emphasizing only on implementation part. And it is also very important that decentralization may not be taken up in implementation. The curriculum, it is rightly mentioned in NEP that NCERT has to develop the syllabus from the school level to plus 2 level. This syllabus has to be followed invariably by all the people. And this curriculum modifications and the time-to-time modification has to be taken up by NCERT, and it will be good for all the states to follow that. It will be a very good point actually to mention and in the NEP. And the database of the teachers and the credit database is also very important, that wherever they want to go, wherever they want to transfer, their credit base is going to be very good, and it will be definitely going to help. And it is also very important that the IoT and modern technology developments are also being part of the curriculum. It is very important, and they will be definitely helpful. And the national curriculum framework for school education is also very important one. They are able to develop this syllabus. And another important point is the incentives which are going to be offered for the career improvement and career planning and modern knowledge requirement, and even for advanced learners, what are the incentives which they are going to provide. This also may be emphasized in the particular implementation policy that will be adding up. And in nutshell, finally, I want to conclude myself because I want to listen to Ramachandran sir. But these are my views, certain of my views as one of the important stakeholders I present before everyone. So only in nutshell, I wanted to mention that the implementation policy is very important. So definitely Ramachandran sir will be consulted for implementation policy to be developed. I'm mentioning that these are the points which has to be taken up into the implementation point. Then NEP objectives and vision will be definitely successful, and our country will be definitely growing into a stage that it is going to be self-reliant India. And it is going to be on its own. We don't need to depend on anyone, and we can have our own entrepreneurs, and we can develop our own industrial growth in our country. So it is definitely going to be the 2020 NEP is going to be the vision of our country. And I thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share some of my feelings and also focus in front of the experts, and they can also have these particular points to be discussed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Sambasiva, and I fully agree with you that India is going to be a leader in the future. Maybe I think we have to wait, rather not wait, but we have to put all our efforts and sincere endeavor, the next decade or decade and a half or 2 decades to be a Vishwaguru once again. And you emphasize about the youth, full of energy, full of curiosity and all that, So I think India, as we all know, I mean, we have we can reap rich demographic dividend if we steer our policies very very carefully, cautiously, and so on. And of course, you have highlighted about the migration of the students from one state to another. They should not face any problem. And while hearing you, I was reminded of a line or two from the Central Universities Act 2009. I think about the mobility. The mobility and credit transfer. It has been in the document, but not translated really into the reality. So I think you are very right that national education policy there should be some kind of uniformity. And lastly, sir, in a lighter vein, with all seriousness, implementation is going to be a big challenge. So I think let me be given the permission to quote that greater the challenge, greater the triumph. I repeat, greater the challenge, greater the triumph. So if you really want to be victorious, I think we have to face this challenge, in the interest of the country, nation, and of course our people. So with these my thoughts, I have the pleasure in inviting Professor K. Ramachandran ji from NIEPA. He is an eminent educationist. And sir, Professor Ramachandran, I have had the opportunity of visiting, I think, NIEPA campus maybe 3, 4, 5 times, and I really had a nice experience. I've also, some lectures on higher education policy and also some other interactions. So I welcome you, sir. Professor Ramachandran. Kindly, floor is yours. Kindly enlighten us on this. Okay, please. Yeah.
Thank you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes. Yeah, all. Thank you.
Honorable Vice-Chancellor Nehu, my distinguished fellow panelists, distinguished participants, and friends. My credential for being here is mainly because I was a member of the drafting committee of the policy. So that is NEP 2020. I also had the privilege of being associated with the 1986 policy. So when we were drafting this policy, we thought we should highlight a few things. The policy recognized that the most important factor in the success of higher education institutions in all parts of the country, including northeastern states, is the quality and engagement of the faculty. It means the next 15 years, we must invest a lot in faculty if you really want to implement this policy and achieve the desired result. Therefore, the kind of overall purpose is to ensure, I'm talking only higher education now, to ensure that all students at the higher education level are taught by faculty who are empowered, who are professionally trained, who are well motivated, and who are well supported by other requirements. There is a word, professionally trained. You may ask me a question. Are faculty to be professionally trained? The answer is yes. Currently, we are organizing induction programs, refresher programs, and so on. But in addition to that, the policy recommends one thing. In future, those who want to become assistant professors in the university or a college, all current PhD students will have to undergo credited course, perhaps 8 credit courses in pedagogy. This is one transformative change the policy talks about it. All PhD students, if they want to become an assistant professor, around 8 credit program in pedagogy. Now, the topic of this was development in northeastern region. Essentially, education and development is a two-way relationship. There is impact of education on socio-economic, political, cultural development. The development also has impact on education development. So both are a two-way relationship. If you're talking about impact of educational development, it essentially comes through the students, and therefore how the faculty deals with the students. Can we respond to the emerging characteristics of students? And what are they? The students who are entering the universities in northeastern region are those born and raised in a technology-rich environment, not like us when we were students. and this is one aspect we should keep in mind, then these students will use technologies which don't exist now. You don't know what will happen to the mobile phone after 5 years. It will be able to do many more things which are not used right now. Then the next thing is, many of these students will enter jobs which don't exist now. And therefore, even preparing the students for meeting the challenges of Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, robotics, big data analytics, drones, and so on, some of which will take away some existing jobs, but the existing jobs also will change in terms of processes. If we want development of a region, we need to prepare students for these purposes. Then the students are digitally literate, tethered to the internet. As indicated earlier, they are lifelong learners, learning how to learn capability. So the faculty role will change in this context. That the policy envisages that the role of faculty extremely important. It was mentioned earlier, what are we trying to create in students? Not just subject specialists. They would be a complex problem solver. They would be critical thinkers. They would be creative thinkers. They would be team players capable of working in teams. They would be excellent, skilled communicators. They would have ability to have ethical and moral reasoning. A group of students with constitutional values, the adherence to that. So these are the kinds of attributes we would like to develop in our students, which in turn will help development of universities, and that will in turn help the development of a state or a region. I think this is the kind of development-oriented education we are talking about. One question came earlier. Somebody talked about multidisciplinary thing. Why this? What is the reason for this? When we were drafting the policy, we said we must have a holistic education. What does that mean? Develop an education that would enhance capability of students in all aspects: intellectual, aesthetic, physical, social, and ethical, moral, all this. And if you want a student of this kind, then a single discipline will not help. If you want to develop all capacities of a learner, we need a multidisciplinary programs. That's why the focus that soon many of the higher education institutions in the next 10 years will move towards multidisciplinary institutions, and therefore multidisciplinary courses. And the first attempt towards that will be the undergraduate stage. As you are aware, we are talking about 3-year degree programs and 4-year degree programs with research. And the 4-year program and other programs as well will have multiple exit and re-entry options. And therefore, the curriculum of undergraduate level will be revamped. That means curriculum revamp, pedagogical revamping, assessment revamping, and support systems revamping. That is the idea immediately. That how we can make the undergraduate program multidisciplinary, including vocational programs. At the undergraduate level, a student have one major, physics, the next major may be music, or the next major may be a vocational program. It means at undergraduate level, gradually all students may undertake a vocational program. And the goal is by 2035, 50% of students in higher education institutions pass out with a skill participating in vocational education program. These are the things. Since time is short, let me jump on to what shall we do in the northeastern region. Dr. Sambasiva Rao mentioned about it. Number one is the policy envisages that all higher education institutions to be equipped with the basic infrastructure and facilities, including office facilities, teaching supplies, libraries, labs, and pleasant classroom space and campuses. An aim of this. Second, every classroom in a college or university should have access to the latest educational technology that enables better learning experience, the kind of online learning or blended learning we are talking about. Then, this is all issue of motivation to faculty. Currently, the faculty motivation is low. It means their working conditions should be enhanced to get intrinsic motivation. Next element we are talking is the teaching load must be reassessed, and we must make sure they are not excessive. It must provide faculty time for research, better preparation, and so on. And therefore, also the student-teacher ratio should not be too much skewed. It must be appropriate. And this is another thing we try to do is, and the teacher should be given sufficient time to have interaction with students, including research and other university activities. Then one proposal is, if there are affiliating universities, it is sometimes a faculty is appointed but later transferred. Now what we want now is the faculty to be appointed to individual institutions and generally not be transferred across institutions in a short span, so that they get sufficient time to truly invest in the college and the students adequately very well. And this is again we are talking about it. Most important is, I think Dr. Sambasiva talked about it and earlier others as well, the faculty to be given autonomy, freedom to design their own curricular and pedagogical approaches. We will prescribe what we call the graduate attributes, program learning outcomes, course learning outcomes, but how they should be attained, what pedagogical approaches should be taken up, will be left to the faculty, accountable to the results. It's a results-based management you're talking. So this is an important aspect. Faculty should be allowed to have innovations in teaching, research and service like community service and so on. Then the idea is to produce what we call teaching excellence and faculty excellence. This will be promoted again through appropriate reward system, promotions appropriately done, recognitions, and movement into institutional leadership. A faculty who joins as an assistant professor, can she become a vice-chancellor in a given time period? That should be the ambition, and see how we can move towards. Then faculty which don't follow these norms, of course, will be held accountable. The results-based management will ensure that the results are attained. So, therefore, in the northeastern region, we might take up a few of these things with the money available and see how we can develop our universities. And that's why we talk about transparent process of recruitment, then avenue for young faculty to take up leadership role, to begin with heads of departments and so on. So those who are promising can be trained to take up further responsible positions and so on. Now this is something we are looking at it and how we can do it. And our time is short, so I gave a few ideas, the policy implementation. There is a big change in the governance structure. We are now talking about the 4 distinct functions of governance is handled by different agencies. The National Higher Education Commission, a bill will be in the parliament very soon to replace the UGC Act and the AICT Act, the NCT Act, and so on, to get the regulation by one agency. Then standard setting role. Dr. Sambasiva talked about some kind of equivalence between states, universities. One agency will propose a national higher education qualification framework, which will be a standard setting instrument. That when we design curriculum, even though it will be done at the institutional level, the framework for that is the National Higher Education Qualification Framework, which will be taken up very soon, and maybe by next year we will have a framework. Next, accreditation. Currently NAC does it. NAC alone cannot do 40,000 colleges. Therefore, we may have to have more accrediting agencies, but coordinated by NAC as a meta accreditation body, and do that well. So some of these changes will help enhance the quality of thing we are talking about it. But in all these things, the most important component is the faculty. The faculty should buy into whatever we are talking about. Like I think question came on GER. Currently, India takes 18 to 23 years of age. Internationally, it is 18 to 22 years of age. 18 to 23 came because of our medical courses, 5 years program. Now, it is possible all states in northeastern region will not be able to reach 50% GER by 2035. You will have your own state-specific plans and say Meghalaya would reach in 2030 or 2032. Mizoram might say, I will reach 2028. Arunachal might say, I will reach 2035. This freedom would be given to the states, and the institutional development plan will indicate what would be the gross enrollment ratio to be attained by what year. And therefore, some of these things there will be state-specific plans. Whereas in terms of curricula and all, the National Higher Education Qualification Framework will inform the state level curricula and so on, so that some kind of equivalence can be attained. Maybe 60-70% common core, maybe 30% flexible or 40% flexible between Mizoram, Arunachal Pradesh, or Meghalaya, and so on. Because we must make vocational program locally relevant. Many other things ought to be locally relevant. That freedom should be given to the universities. Then we do want one thing, autonomy to the university. First, academic autonomy, course design, and so on. Professor Sambasiva doesn't have to go to central agency in Delhi. He can decide with his faculty. Then comes administrative autonomy. If Mizoram University wants to have an off-campus center away from Aizawl, that freedom could be given to the Vice-Chancellor. It doesn't have to go elsewhere. Some element of financial autonomy too, that based on probity, public disclosure, if you find that certain things can be relaxed, we must be able to do that. I take example of Punjab University, Chandigarh. A few years ago, they were given 150 crore rupees. And UGC said the Vice-Chancellor and faculty can decide what this should be spent for. And they decided they'll spend a little more money on science faculty and all, and that had remarkable impact. So these kind of decisions gradually take place. But financial might take a little more time because one needs to assess certain aspects and see how best we can do it. But the idea is gradually we should move towards academic autonomy, administrative autonomy, and at least to begin with, some element of financial autonomy, so that the Vice-Chancellor and faculty are empowered to take certain decisions required. So these are some of the things we are talking for development of a region, development of universities, and so on. And one thing we want to ensure is, in future, leadership positions in universities should not be made vacant for a long time. There must be succession plan. If the incumbent Vice-Chancellor is due to retire, 6 months before that, the process should start. And the new Vice-Chancellor should take over the day the incumbent leaves. And preferably what is required is maybe 2 weeks overlap, so that the handing over can be explained and made smoother. So therefore, leadership positions should not be kept vacant for a long time, and succession plans should be taken as early as possible. And this is something need to look at it. And lastly, I'll end with that. I may answer some questions. That when you are talking about autonomy, it goes with accountability. It's not that autonomy given and you can do whatever we want, but there is accountability attached to that. And that process has to be determined by, again, by the two bodies in a university: Board of Governors and Academic Council. The Academic Council will take care of all academic matters, curricular aspects, assessment aspects, and the Board of Governance with independent members, well known for their academic support and contribution, they will manage the system. And the accountability will also be that of the board. The university doesn't do it very well. And the idea is not to find fault with. If something is wrong, can we mentor and improve it in the next 2 years? And therefore, a process of mentoring. And we are also talking about education hub and how we can do it. It doesn't have to be central university to state university or state to central. We can think of many other cases. An example I am giving you, there is a new tribal university set up in Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. There is another state university there, and we thought that state university can mentor this central university because they have experience of that. So therefore, this kind of education hub, a well-established university helping another university to develop further, can also be explored. And like a central university, Mizoram, and if there is a state university, can we help them also? So that collectively, central and state universities grow together, develop together, and that has impact on university development in the entire region, which has influence on socio-economic development of the region. So finally, education and development, two-way relationship. Education contributes to socio-economic development by creating students with the necessary skills and competencies, and development contributes to education development because certain parameters in terms of money and all can come. I can simple example, that's the last point I make. One composite indicator for socio-economic development is under 5 mortality rate. Studies throughout the world, including in India, done by the National Family Health Welfare, show that if a mother is educated up to class 12 and the one who is not educated, the difference in under mortality rate is very wide. If you have 12 years of education, the under 5 mortality declines. This is an example of what we call impact of education on development. It means we will save money on curative care, and we need to argue with the central government. The money given to education will contribute to the 16 Sustainable Development Goals. And therefore, the money given to education is not only for education, it is also for economic development, it is also for nutrition development, it is also for health care, it is also for preventing climate change, very important for northeastern region. It is important for flora and fauna protection, biodiversity. So therefore, the argument I make is that the money allocated for education is not only for education, it is for all other sustainable development goals, and especially the economic development, healthcare, and so on. And therefore, the education development must be given high priority in the entire scheme of the development of northeastern region. I'll stop at this stage. The time is up. Thank you very much for your patient listening.
someone who has been part of the drafting committee. I mean, you are very much insider, of the whole national education policy, the current one and the previous one. Thank you so much, sir. And you have very nicely underlined, rather, put the whole thing in focus, that education and the development, socio-economic development, and other indicators, they are intricately linked with education. Thank you so much. And I mean, the example which you gave, that was really, I mean, for the first time I've been enlightened about that, how the data regarding a woman, I mean, who's having secondary education and all, and how the difference it makes in infant mortality. Well, as you really emphasize the very about the pilot of an aircraft, for example, the quality, quality and engagement of the faculty, and making the faculty the empowered, motivated, and professionally trained. I think that's a big takeaway from your talk. And of course, your emphasis on making our youths, through these interventions in the, through this, I would call it, maybe if I'm allowed to, so a kind of disruptive interventions in the whole education scenario to train the youth, our students, to be ready for the multiple jobs and all that. And it's a big challenge on all of us. That it's frightening to note, but that's the reality. That's few jobs which are there today, maybe after a decade it will disappear. So it's a bound, it's a great responsibility on all of us, educationists, teachers, administrators, vice-chancellor, directors, that we should accordingly go along with this stream, how the thing is changing. And if you permit me, you talk about multidisciplinary, multi-role of a teacher, not only just classroom, but it has to be a critical thinker, key player, problem solver, and so on. So I think our teachers have to be like a multi-role, aircraft in air combat, like we have the Dassas, French Rafale, or MKI, Sukhoi 30 and things like that, So I think, and I'm reminded of, the motto of the Indian Air Force, Nabha Ispris Deeptam, touch the sky with glory. I think in a similar way, we educationists together have to touch the sky, the glory, make our great country again Vishguru. And of course, I mean, this is indirectly connected with all the rankings and so many other things. So we have to really, go like the way our communication system is going from, from 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. Our, the institutions in India also have to move forward very fast, and also emphasizing on the mentorship and hand-holding of central and state universities. That's something very unique. Normally, we central universities and state, we live in our silos as if we are not bothered about each other, but they are all part and parcel of the society of our great nations, and the same public money is being spent, to sustain these institutions. And it was great hearing you connecting, the whole theme of today with your SDGs of United Nations, those 17 sustainable development. Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure listening to you. It was really an eye-opener for us and thought-provoking for all of us. I think for next, many days or so, time to come, we'll all be pondering over all these thoughts which has been shared by our great four speakers. And I thank them all. And once again, I wish all my colleagues, the teachers of the country, and those who are listening and those who are participating, a very happy Teachers' Day. And I think now I pass on to my colleague, Dr. Nayak, the registrar of NEHU, to propose the vote of thanks for all the distinguished speakers as well as the participants. Yeah, Dr. Nayak, please.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Vice-Chancellor NEHU, Professor Srivastava, Chairperson of this webinar, Professor Saket Kushwaha, Vice-Chancellor Rajiv Gandhi University, Arunachal, Professor Sambasiva, Vice-Chancellor Mizoram University, Professor T.G.Sitharaman, Director IIT Guwahati, Professor K. Ramachandran from NIEPA, Pro Vice-Chancellor Professor Henley Lamin, Professor C. Nongbri, Dean School of Education, Dr. Biswajit Mohapatra, coordinator of this program, faculty members, teachers, officers, and participants of this program. Really, it is a privilege on my part to deliver the vote of thanks. I am sure within an hour or so, we have been oriented and reoriented with the system of higher education to which we are heading to with NEP 2020. Meanwhile, much water has flown down the river Brahmaputra since the inception of this university, that is Northeastern Hill University, supposed to be the premier university and first central university in all Northeast. We have been doing, perhaps the society has to find out a good job for the society, for the students, and for the stakeholders. And we will continue in our endeavor to impart higher education to the society at large and Meghalaya especially in particular. And today we have listened to a galaxy of luminaries of higher education in the Northeast region. Professor C. Nongbri has thrown light on digitization, transparency, autonomy. Professor Sitharam has dwelt upon socio-economic development, funding and regulatory authorities. Professor Saket Kushwaha has discussed on Chintan, challenges and subtle education for creation of proper workforce for the future. Professor Sambasiva has dwelt upon education, proper planning, attitude in education and the implementation. Professor Ramachandran has given a very briefly and discussed the whole gamut of NEP 2020, giving us an opportunity and insight view of what is going to happen, how the universities should prepare themselves to march ahead with these times to come. In fact, this is a challenge before all of us. We, the people who are involved in higher education, I am sure all of us will join heads together to come over this. So at this stage, I profusely thank Professor S.K. Srivastava, our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, who has been a source of inspiration for such kind of program, and the chairperson of this webinar, Professor Saket Kushwaha, Professor Sambasiva, both are very close and very dear to us, who are in a very short notice, they were ready to come over the screen and address us. Professor Sitharam, despite his busy schedule, could come and address us. He has a very busy schedule. Even then, he has postponed that to address the fraternity, the educational fraternity. Professor Ramachandran has given us all the insight of this NEP 2020. In fact, we are privileged to have him here with us in this webinar, who himself is involved in the drafting committee. Professor C. Nongbri, he has given a very brief on what the education system is meant for. And my profuse thanks to Dr. Biswajit Mohapatra, who has been coordinating with us, and a special thanks for him because very effectively he has coordinated this in a very short notice, as the information came in a very short notice and we could gather here, and all the arrangements has been done by him. And last but not the least, we thank all our faculty members, teachers, other officers, participants of this program, and those who are directly or indirectly helped us and the university in conducting such kind of webinar. Once again, I convey the greetings on this auspicious day, this August day of Teachers' Day, when we remember Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. And with this, I conclude. Thank you one and all. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much. Thank you much. Great.